Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how to create your own custom Unity package, just like the ones you get off the package manager like Unity UI or the input system or the render pipelines, how to create your own, how to save it on your PC and be able to load it back up into different projects so that you don't have to keep copy and pasting code for projects if you have shared helper functions or like extension methods. I'll give you an example and then I'll show you how to do it. And then equally, you could take this further and put it on GitHub and import it from there. It's a pretty easy swap. I've not set up a GitHub repository for this video, but I'll show you how you go about doing that. It's very simple. And yeah, I hope you find this video useful. Now let's get to the coding. But of course, first I've got to thank my patrons, so special thanks to Flowstate Games, Average Morning, Evgeny, Art Farrell, Buduray, and Remy Baldwin. If anyone else is able to help support the channel monetarily, the link to my patrons down below. If not, there are also links down below to my social media, such as Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. It would help tremendously if you could help by following on any of those. That'd be greatly appreciated. Now let's get to the video. So before I mention the patrons, I actually also mentioned that we'd be getting to the coding, but now that I think about it, it's not actually coding this video. I'll show you some code I've written, just some simple extension methods, but you can use this for extension methods, helper classes, builders, really anything that you're going to use on multiple projects that you don't want to have to bother rewriting every time. Now obviously, yeah, when you make a new project, you could just copy paste stuff across what you need and what you don't. It's just a bit of a hassle. This is much better if you want to build up your own helper functions and like kind of tools so that you can then, when making a new game, you don't have to start from scratch, you can import them. So just a quick example, I've written like 2 list extensions and a string extension. So this one here, if you have a list of any type, I mean this is really what matters. If you had, for example, down here, right, let's make a private void A, and inside here you might have a list, right? So let's make a list of game objects in Unity and call that B. Or something, just a really bad example, right? Now let's say you want to get the first element in B. Well, normally you might go B0. Now obviously that's completely normal. I don't expect people to actually use this silly one over here. Var C equals, and this is just really bad example. The problem with B is apparently use of unassigned local. So let's set it equal to a new list. Okay, so we say var B is a new list of game objects. Now, one other thing you can do is you can say B dot first. Okay. Like so. And what that does is, because I've put this list T, it means that you have to call this function on a list of any type. Game object is any type, doesn't matter, right? So it's going to return whatever the list is, index 0. Now that's not really very useful. Everyone can just type 0. But it's a bit annoying, for example, having to always type out list, bracket and then, or brace, and then the list dot count -1. It's a bit annoying. You write that all over the place. So why not just write b.last, and then you get the last one. This is not what the video is about. That's just an example. You might write some helper functions. I also have a string one. This is actually really useful because over your game you might have colored text all over the place, and you don't want to have to type this out everywhere. It's really annoying. Like having to have color, blah, 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 convert the color that into a text thing so that you can put your text in that color. So now over here we could have, for example, a string hello. And then if we were in Unity setting the UI, you might want to have this hello show up as a color. So we can just say b dot with color, and then you say like color dot red, for example. And then the actual string now is, if we actually like logged out C, it would be this, but replace the text with the letter B or whatever I put in. Oh, well, the string hello, sorry. It would be hello in here, and then the color red here, converted so that it actually makes this string a red string in the UI. Okay, they're the examples, right? That's it. Now we're actually going to show you, as I said, you don't want to code this every single time you make a new project. You want to move them across. So we're going to package this up and save it to my computer on my hard drive. And then, for example, we can delete it from the project and easily re-import it and use it in our project. And then, you can take it from there and use it on GitHub if you want, or, try using it in your own projects. Let me know how it goes. Now let's get to actually setting it up. Okay, so step 1 is to go down to where your assets and packages are, and you want to go to packages. You want to go and open it in your Explorer so you can easily just make stuff in there. And then we want to make a new folder. And we're going to make this folder, we're going to call it Dapper Tools. And inside Dapper Tools, we need a new text file, but it's actually going to be a JSON. So make sure that when you're setting it, you change the file extension. So it's going to be package.json, okay? It'll ask you, this is going to change it because it's a different extension, that's fine. And then open the JSON. Mine's going to open inside Visual Studio, and now we have to fill in some details on here. Okay, so in this package manifest, we have to fill in certain things. Now, there are the required attributes, the ones you have to use. The mandatory ones, the ones you're encouraged to use, but you technically don't have to, but I recommend you do. And then the optional ones, which is completely up to you. So I'm going to write out the framework for how it's going to look for me, and then I'll cut the video ahead while I actually fill it in so you don't just sit here watching me type all the things. So let me move this onto my other monitor. Okay, so first thing we're going to want is we're going to want the name, but before you actually put any of these in, you're going to want to use squiggly brackets to mark the outside of the JSON file. All JSON files are always like this, so that you can access the things inside these squiggly brackets. So if you have lists, for example, or if you have arrays, you might want the things inside of it to have squiggly brackets. It's how you kind of separate things. If you've never used JSON before, then it's pretty simple. All we're going to want to do for this is we're going to have the name, right? So it's name, and then it's going to be inside string, inside here. You're going to want to put, wait, sorry, have I done this right? Yeah, that's right. We're going to want to have com, which is like company, and then you're going to want to put your company name. So I'm going to put Dapper Dino. And then you're going to want the actual name of your thing, which is going to be Dapper Tools. Now, you can't really put spaces in here, so I'm just going to go with Dapper Tools like this. Okay? I'm going to put a comma, and then we're going to have the version of the library. So you see here, actually, all the different things are here because it knows, it's actually picked up what you're using, the schema as the package. So it actually already tells you what the different things are, which is kind of useful. For the version, as I said, we're going to use this just to be 1.0.0. That's what they show on their example, like when you're just putting them in. And then we also want what the actual display name is, so display name. And this is going to be, let me just format that. This is just the name, whatever you want your package to actually be, because this name is not displayed on the package manager, but this one is. If we go and look back at here, on the package manager, you see display name, the user-friendly name to appear, right? So we can just call this Dapper Tools. Okay. Then after that, I said I'd fill this in afterwards, but I guess I'm not going to. I guess I'm just filling it in with you guys. Then we have a description, so I'm just going to leave that and do that afterwards. Then the version of Unity. So the version of Unity, we're using 2019, whoops, 2019.2. 2019.3 is nearly out, and I'm looking forward to that, but sadly it's not yet. So 2019.2. That's just so Unity, obviously, it can tell the person using your package this was designed for 2019.2. You can still use it if you're on 2019.3 or higher or older or whatever, but you might be missing certain things. It's up to you. Then dependencies is basically other packages that you rely on, but actually we have none because this is just strings and list stuff. That's just whatever, right? So we can just ignore that step. Make sure you put a comma to go to the next one. Then we have keywords, which is basically the words you might want users to type in to help find your package. So we can go with, for example, tools, extension, or whatever, right? I don't know, Dapper. There we go. I mean, it's up to you. Then after keywords, you want to put stuff about yourself. You can put author. So we go like this. Now, because there's different things inside author, you want to use the curly braces, and inside this you can now access name, email, and URL. So name, Nathan Farah. Then email, I'm just going to leave blank for now. URL, we've got https://dapperdino.co.uk. And then we can leave it there. Now, there are a few other optional things. So like if we look down here, we can, for example, we've done Unity, description, display name, those are the important ones. Dependencies, so obviously dependencies are optional. To be honest, the fact that there are none, you know, we just don't need to explicitly put them. Keywords, as we've done. Type, I don't know why we've got type. A constant that provides additional information to the package manager. I'm not sure what that actually does. And then author, as you see here, there's the example. And then this is an example finished one that looks just like mine, basically. Actually, I guess I might leave packages in. Dependencies, because it's explicitly saying there are no dependencies, you're all fine, right? But then here's where you'd put other things if you needed them. And apparently, yeah, if you put spaces, you should do dashes, so let's do that. Okay, and then here it is. Now, it actually says I should probably put in a valid email address, so let me just put in my email address real quick. There we go. It's not leaking an email address. This is public on my thing. There's no worries. Okay, there we go. There is the package manifest. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, so now if you go down to your packages, Dapper Tools, whatever, whatever you've called yours. We can access the package if it lets me click on it. For some reason, Unity appears to have frozen. There we go. We click on package and we get the actual nice UI for it. So now you can easily change it without having to go back into the file. We needed to put that in originally to kind of structure it so it recognized it as the right kind of JSON, and then it can display it on here. But now it's quite easy to just change it, so we can change the release and type and description, whatever. It's up to you. Did that actually give me an error when it's gone now, whatever. I'm not going to bother reopening it, it's fine. What I meant was I left the description blank, so it might give me a problem, but it's fine with that. And now, what we can actually do is we can go to our package manager and see it there, Dapper Tools version 1.0.0. Documentation, obviously there is none. I haven't linked any documentation or anything like that. But the point is, here it is, and you can see it in the package manager. You can see different versions if you... Whoops, it's loaded all the other packages. Yeah, if you had other versions, you could switch between the versions. But that's it, right? This is pretty simple. Now we actually want to know how to put our code in the project. Okay, so I'm going to link this down below. This is the Unity official package layout. So basically, this is how you should structure your package. Currently, we just have the package.json, but we're going to want to make folders for these other things. So a quick overview, the README is where you write about your package, and then people can read that in the package manager. Changelog is obviously talking about version changes, so that you can see what was changed in each version, you know, to look if a certain bug you're having is fixed in a certain version or whatever, right? Just what changes, what happens. License is, well, the license to your code, you know, are people allowed to freely distribute it themselves? Are they allowed to make changes to it and publish that, or is it completely private? You know, that's the license. Then editor is code you've written that affects the editor, so your editor scripts like changing the UI or like giving yourself extra windows for certain things. Runtime, the actual code that gets compiled into the game, so for example, list and string extensions will probably be used in the game, because let's say you have a list somewhere and you use that extension on it and you don't include the code that does that, then obviously it's not going to work when you build. So you need to make sure your runtime things are included in the build and your editor things aren't, because there's no need. Then we've got tests, so you can test your editor code and test your runtime code, but neither of these are actually compiled into your game. Even though these are runtime tests, you don't want any tests in your game. There's no need to have unit tests in the game, because, you know, no one's playing your game is going to be running your tests. And then documentation, obviously you can write documentation, sort that out. I've not actually looked into that. That's something that's interesting I might look into. But the rest of this is what we care about. We're not even going to write the readmes. That's up to you, right, to fill all those in. We're just going to do the folders. So I'm going to move this over here. And what do we want? Well, we're going to want to create a folder for tests. Now, I'm not actually writing any tests for this, but obviously if you add more than just free functions to have in your package, you'd probably want some tests. So inside tests, you want the editor tests. Now, the reason there's like a structure that everyone uses is because there's two reasons. One, if you name things correctly and position them correctly, Unity actually uses that to display it in the package manager UI. For example, your README is displayed on it, so if you don't name your README file README and put it in the right place, then it's not going to know where to look. So that's why you want to put that there. And also, when you download other people's packages and use theirs, you expect it to be laid out like yours, right? You want this consistent layout so you know where to look for certain things. So if you want to look for an editor test in someone else's thing, you know to go into tests editor, for example. Now we want inside tests, and then we've got the editor test, we want the runtime tests. We're not going to put anything in there really. Then we go back, and as well as tests, we have a folder for the editor scripts. And you want a folder for the runtime scripts, like so. And there they all are. Now, inside editor and runtime is where we're actually going to write logic. Now, technically, all the stuff I've done so far are runtime things, those extensions. So I should put them in here. Now, if I just put the code in here, though, I won't be able to reference it from code in an actual project, because it's not got a reference to any of this. If you actually go look in another package, for example, the input system, and go to the input system here, now they've not actually structured it the exact same way it says to do it, but they've got it pretty close, I guess. They've still got their tests, but they haven't put the, editor and the whatever, but I'm not going to start complaining about that, I guess. This is in preview anyway. They would expect Unity to follow their own guidelines, but hey. You notice how all of this code here, we wouldn't be able to reference it if it wasn't for this at the bottom. This assembly definition file, this .asm.def. Now, essentially what that means is we can reference these from other places with their own assembly definition files to have access to code elsewhere. Now, by default, if you put code in a certain folder, you have reference to the code in the same folder and the folder's children. But if you try and reference it from other folders, then no, you're not going to be able to. So what we can do is we can make our own one of these, and when we use it in our game code, we reference it to use it. So if I go over here and I go back to Dapper Tools, we're not going to make a script in here actually, we're going to make a script back over here in scripts. Now I'm just going to make a script called, well, let's just leave it as the default, right? A new behavior script. And we're going to try and reference some of our code. Now, you'll notice we can right away. If I just go here, and it's setting up, it's being a bit weird. Let's make the namespace be Dapper Dino, and instead of Dapper Tools, I'm just going to call it, example, right? Or examples. I've not put it in a folder, but it's fine. What we want to do is we want to try and use some of our code from our extension. So we'll just say, like, I don't know, on update, debug.log, as we said hello before, hello dot with color. Now it's not there, right? So we do with color. We can actually import Dapper Tools at the top using Dapper Tools, and we can pass in color dot green this time. So we can log that. Now that wouldn't really log it in green because the debug log doesn't have color, but that's just the point, right? We're using one of our extensions, and it works because it's in the same like scripts folder. But as soon as we move it out in a second, it won't be there anymore. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I've opened this up in my Explorer, and as you see, I've got the extensions and the helpers. Now the state machines and helpers are just empty folders to kind of prove a point. You know, you might have some helper functions, some state machine stuff, I don't know, some common things. Now we're gonna go put these over in packages, Dapper Tools, runtime. So if I open up the runtime folder, we have that open too. So I can open scripts in here. Inside runtime, I'm gonna go put these 3 folders, okay? And now they're gone. They're gone from here. They're in here now, but if we go back to our code, what's the problem? String doesn't have that, even with Dapper Tools. It's a missing namespace, okay? That's a problem. We don't have access to it. Now, Unity is clever in the fact that it doesn't want you to have to reference every single assembly you need from your scripts folder. So, if we go back to Unity and go into the Dapper Tools, the runtime, and we go and create an assembly definition, and just call it com.dapperdino.dappertools or dapper-tools. And if we actually go back and look at the package layout, you'll see here it's well, they have unity.your package name. I don't think they really expect us to put Unity at the beginning of ours. It's just because com is the company, right? They're Unity. Your package name.asmdf, which is the extension down here. And now, if we go back to the code again and reload it, we now have referenced the namespace again. We can use the function, even though the code is external from our actual game scripts. Now, obviously, that's super useful. What we can do is we can then go up to the package manager, and obviously you see it there, Dapper Tools. Now we want to be able to add a package from a disk, right? So what I'm going to go do, okay, is I'm going to get rid of that. I'm now going to go back to Dapper Tools, open Explorer. So here it is, right? Here's Dapper Tools. I'm going to move this, and I'm going to go to my folders. I'm going to put Dapper Tools on my desktop. There it is, and I'm going to delete it from my project. Okay, so now it's gone from my project, and the code's problematic again, right? It's lost. Well, it should lose it. It's telling me there's a problem. Reload, and then there'll be the problem. But Unity doesn't like this, apparently. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to have to go back to the package manager and add from disk, and then I can put in the path. Now I'm just going to skip ahead because apparently there's a problem with the editor. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I closed Visual Studio, and as you see, we've got the problem in the script. It's missing. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now that it's on my desktop is I'm going to go to package manager, add from disk. I'm going to go to my desktop, Dapper Tools, package.json. I'm going to open it, and I'm going to give it a second. It's going to import the package. It's going to add it to here, and then I'll see the version. I'll see all the information I put in it. Obviously, there's more information you can put in it, but it'll work. And then once I've done that, I can reopen Visual Studio, and you'll see that the code now works because it's imported my package. And obviously, the benefit to this now is you can go to you can go to any Unity project now, and you can just click import and select your project, and then you can get it in there. Now, The quick side note, as you see, the error's gone now, so if we go to our scripts, it'll work. The one other thing I mentioned is that I'd show how to do it on GitHub or explain how to do it. Now, all you need to do is, I think you need to be using 2019.3. That's the problem. I'm not going to be able to do it now because when I did it in the past, when I've tried it in the past before, I've been on 2019.3. And if you go to Package Manager, there is an add. Instead of disk, you've actually got a GitHub option here. You can put in a Git link to a GitHub repository. So if you have a repository of your code in, you can then click Add from GitHub and put in a URL. Now, I can't do it in this version of Unity, apparently, or I'm missing it, so that's a shame. But it's very easy to do if you guys are using the newer version. Or I could even show it off when I get 2019.3. Well, I'm not using the beta version right now, but when it comes out in a week time, or it's like a few weeks time, it's very soon. That's when I will show you how to do it with GitHub. But for now, this is pretty simple. Just store it on your computer. Now we go back to the code and it's working with Dapper Tools. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's pretty simple. Once you know what you're doing, you can do it. You can add to it yourself. It's pretty simple to expand upon and just add new stuff to your package. Just drag it in, update it, or whatever. I would recommend having your own Unity project for working on the package, updating it, and then obviously exporting it. If you update the package on your desktop and the project's referencing it, then it'll obviously update that. It's pretty cool, to be honest. If we look in Dapper Tools and packages, it's not here anymore. It's referencing the thing through the manifest JSON. You'll see you have Dapper Dino Tools. It tells you the file path, so it doesn't actually import it to your project. It just keeps it there. So there's actually nothing in this folder. It's lying here. It's just cleverly lying to you. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave it a like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.